American deserts are chock-a-block full with wildlife, especially rattlesnakes. And I meet the rattlesnake's arch-enemy.
He's too cute for his own good.
There are ghostly remains of the Wild West and an aircraft graveyard where old airliners make one last flight. The desert is full of adventure, from ghost towns to rattlesnakes to jets.
Once upon a time, deep in the jungle, there was a girl who lived in a tree.
That's why they call her.
Well, Bindi, the jungle girl. Well, princess of the animal world. The crook hunter taught her, now his only daughter is Bindi, the jungle girl.
Come in. Hi, Stripes. Looking good. And you too, baby boas. Welcome to my treehouse. On this adventure, we're continuing our road trip from Vegas to LA through one of the hottest spots in California, the Mojave Desert.
I'm plumb rattled. My memory stick's melted. Doggone it.
The Mojave is home to some hot rattlesnakes too. The Mojave Desert is in Southern California, and it's a lot more than just sand. It's full of rocky outcrops and canyons, perfect homes for reptiles, and my dad's best mate Wes has found a speckled rattlesnake. My mum actually spotted it, so Wes is handing it over so she can tell us all about it.
Wow. He found him. He's yours.
Oh, what a beauty. Hi, cutie.
Hey, Bindi, look at this.
Look at this rattle. He's no baby. Look at the size of it. That's what I heard. You hear this? Don't move. They strike simply to be defensive. It's not their fault. Isn't he beautiful?
Excellent, Terry.
How pink is he? And look how fat he is. Fat as mud. I reckon he's been feeding on lots of little rodents and little squirrel jiggers living in the rocks. Stop and think about the evolution of the rattlesnake. He rattles his rattle, yet he has no ears. He cannot even hear himself rattle. But he knows when he does that something like me coming along will hear him and get out of his way. Isn't he beautiful?
You'll probably hear a rattlesnake before you see it. They like to give you a warning so you can back off and move safely away. One of the great things about the wilderness parks in the USA is how you're allowed to have adventures off the beaten track.
Jeez, it's hard keeping up with Bindi.
Here's a perfect spot to try some rock climbing. Isn't this great? This is a prime spot. Have a go at all these different sorts of caves and little holes in the rocks. But when you're climbing, you gotta watch out, because you never know when a snake or any other wildlife could be just around the corner. And you know another really cool thing about here is that you echo. How about I show you? The sand in the Mojave Desert gets very hot, up to 195 degrees Fahrenheit. Whoa!
That's so totally hot. I could almost boil water.
Since when do you cook? We're heading to the Singing Sand Dunes. Doesn't that sound weird?
We're at the Kelso Sand Dunes, which is pretty amazing in the Mojave Desert. It's around about 600 feet high and covers around about 45 acres. You know, the other awesome thing about these sand dunes is they actually make music. Now, that's hard to believe, but when these sand dunes get higher and higher, you get a big slip and a whole heap of sand rushes down the mountain, and when it hits the sand at the bottom, it actually makes it vibrate, and it makes a noise like a low-flying aircraft. What an incredible spot.
That's amazing. These sand dunes can get up to 150 degrees. But I think I want to be a sidewinder, because what they do, because these guys don't want to get their belly or all hot and burn their belly, so what they do is they slither across like this so they don't burn their belly. And there's a lizard that has flaps of skin between his toes, like snowshoes pretty much. And what they do, they run really fast across the sand dunes like this. Bye!
Crikey! 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 Crikey!
Crikey! Did you know the Sahara Desert is the largest desert in the world? It's as big as the entire United States, including Alaska.
One thing you don't see a lot of in the desert is rain. But there are a lot of trees, Joshua trees. We're right in the center of the Mojave Desert, and it's surprising what we find.
The Joshua tree here gives great shade because it grows really big. It's both a shrub or bush and a tree, and it provides shade to all kinds of little mammals. Birds will nest in the side of the tree. It also provides an important niche for the yucca moth.
I actually learnt about the yucca moth in school with Miss Emma.
Excellent.
I know.
There's somebody inside here.
Looks like a spider, like a tarantula.
That's right.
Oh,
Let me see if I can just tease him out a little bit. They roam around the desert looking for a girl spider to fall in love with. Now, the girl spiders primarily live underground. They dig down in the earth and they pounce on their dinner. They don't spin a web and catch their food like a traditional spider. Now, Robert, did you want to let him go? Yeah, just touch his bottom a little bit. You scrunch right down there. Robert, should you ever pick up a spider without asking your mama? What do you do if you see a spider?
Tell Mom.
Tell Mom. Good boy. Here we go.
Darren from North Dakota wants to know if I'm teaching Robert to be a TV presenter. As a matter of fact, Darren, I am, and boy howdy, he's a fast learner. Action!
It's a volcano, and it's not just a volcano, it's a volcano rock.
Okay, Robert, hold it up to camera so I can see it. That's the way. That's great. Okay, Robert, release the rock. Let it go free. Good boy. Now race off and tell Mom all about it. Ghosts rule the Outbacks next.
Bindi the Jungle Girl.
Bindi! Driving through the southwest of California, we found more snakes than you could poke a stick at. Every time we see the right sort of habitat, we're off the road to search for more wildlife.
Have a look at this little bloke. It's a little red rattlesnake, and these guys are found in California and, of course, in Mexico as well, where they're probably more common. Isn't he absolutely cute? But these guys can get quite large, and they're similar to western diamondbacks, but they've got this beautiful red coloration. That's so they blend in with these rocks. Have a look at his little tail. They call this a coon tail because it looks like a raccoon. And look at those two holes at the end of his nose there. They're heat-sensing pits. When a warm-blooded animal comes past, he's able to pick the warmest spot and just crack and grab hold of it. Off you go.
Crikey! 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 Crikey!
Crikey! Did you know that roadrunners can run 17 miles an hour? That wily coyote doesn't stand a chance.
Sometimes it's not what you see with your eyes, it's what you hear with your ears. And that sound means leave it to a grown-up expert.
You're a little beauty. This is a Pacific rattlesnake in the classic pose. Look at that tongue out, flicking up and down. They can tell 0.4 degree of a temperature variance. That means if a little mouse comes along, they put that tongue out, they can sense the hottest spot on the mouse, and they'll strike right where the heart is. The Pacific rattlesnake is found, as you might guess, all along the Pacific coast. They eat any little rodents or animals that will breed up, and this would be a big Pacific rattler. You watch what happens when I back off. Everything should get quiet. I'm gonna leave you alone.
Look at this. This is a little long-nosed snake. Isn't he beautiful? Yes, you are. Now, they call him a long-nosed snake because he's got a long nose for digging in the sand or on the dirt. We don't really know why he has these beautiful colours. But I'm pretty sure it must be to mimic a very, very venomous snake called the coral snake, so that other predators that might have a go at him might think twice. This long-nosed snake isn't venomous. His mouth isn't big enough to actually do some damage if he did bite me. The main thing is that you've always got to remember, never pick up a snake. But they're absolutely gorgeous. I love snakes. You are so beautiful. He's too cute for his own good.
Crikey! 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 Did you know that it snowed in the Sahara Desert way back in 1979? I remember it well.
From ghost towns to boot heel for planes. Next.
Bindi the Jungle Girl.
Everywhere you go, in the desert, the past is all around you. But in ghost towns, our history comes to life. We're about to arrive at the settlement of Calico, one of the isolated ghost towns left over from the old days of the Wild West. Most of the ghost towns were built during the short-lived gold rushes, but Calico was famous for silver in the 1800s. Thousands of miners swarmed into town overnight, and then they left almost as suddenly when the price of silver dropped. Calico has made a comeback as a piece of living history. It's the perfect place for tourists to get a feel of life from the days when the gunslingers had shootouts in the streets. These days, our skies are full of aeroplanes, thousands of them flying all over the world. But do you ever wonder where all the old ones go when they retire? Our next stop is the Mojave Air and Spaceport, a totally cool place where aircraft of all shapes and sizes make their final landing. The desert is perfect for keeping old planes in mothballs. The dry air helps keep them in good condition, ready for recycling and spare parts. Bonnie from Oregon asked if there are different kinds of rats. Yes, Bonnie, there are. My pet rat Candy has hair though, but check out these rats in the USA that are completely hairless. This is a hairless rat. It hasn't been shaved or anything. They've been bred to have no hair. Hairless rats help humans. Like if somebody's in like an accident and they lose their ear, they can just sew the ear onto the rat, and that keeps the blood supply going into the ear. They get the ear off of the rat, put it back on the person, which is absolutely neat. The best bit is the rat is perfectly fine. Baby snakes are identical to their parents, like this mama and baby boa from South America. In California, I found a mama and a baby king snake. Anytime you're near a snake, be careful because you never know if it's dangerous or not. This is a king snake. Isn't he gorgeous? Well, he or she gorgeous. Now, the reason why they call these guys king snakes is because this is really, really neat. They're not venomous, but they eat rattlesnakes. Isn't that amazing? They grab them by the scruff of the neck, they constrict them, and then gobble them down. This is as big as they get. Aren't they gorgeous? He is beautiful. I love him. My friend Werner has turned this old DC-3 into a very special Winnebago. How good is this? The best part of our visit to the Mojave graveyard was the fun we had with all the old planes. Well, I got the wing down. Now I've got to demolish the middle. Let's do it.
Have you got your seatbelt on?
No, I don't.
Oh, I've got mine on. This is luxury. And you know, these new windows let you see just everything.
Exactly.
It's practically like we're outside.
Exactly. It's like there's no window.
I'm glad we bumped up to business. This is luxury.
It is. Hey, wasn't this the $10 flight to Las Vegas?
Yeah, this doesn't look like Las Vegas. I think we got ripped off.
And there's even more fun inside the cabin.
Okay, we're just taxiing out. Can you help me out, co-pilot, and check some of those knobs and buttons?
Are you sure this is safe?
This is my first time.
That's why I'm worrying.
Here we go. Lights on. Dim. Here we go. Full throttle. Brace yourself. And we have liftoff. I gotta get this straightened out. Oh no, she's turning in. She's turning in. Strap it in. We're going down. Hang on. We're going down.
Save your children!
Can't hold her any longer.
Go, go, go! Imagine what it would be like flying faster than the speed of sound in a jet fighter. Well, my dad flew an F-16 in Arizona. My dad was given a huge privilege. The boys at Luke Air Force Base invited him for a flight in a jet named after a reptile, the Viper F-16 fighter, ready for takeoff. And this is no ordinary plane ride. It's really, really fast. And when a jet fighter is turning at top speed, there are powerful forces on the people inside. On this flight, they hit 9 Gs. That's 9 times the force of gravity. The pilot is trained for it, but my dad wasn't. Here it comes. The G-forces piled on and my dad couldn't hang on.
All right. How'd you do? Oh, boy. You got 8.9 Gs. We got 9 Gs. How'd that feel? Yeah, I just went out cold. The breakfast came close to coming on.
My dad was out cold for a few seconds. Back on the ground, even with all the action and noise from the jets, my dad found good, healthy wildlife.
This is a coach whip. It's a collie breed, non-venomous. They got a great set of teeth, and he's hunting around in the heat of the day, chasing lizards. Hey!
And this is just what he'd like to eat, but he'd have to be super fast.
Oh, you're a little fast one. Here's the fastest lizard I've ever seen. Zebra tail. It's a zebra tail dragon. And for good reason. Look at those beautiful black and white stripes on his tail. Really long. Toes, claws, long legs, long front legs. They've got a couple of signals to signal to the other dragons. They'll do hand waves and head bobs.
And zip, he's gone.
From planes that are grounded to jets that can fly. Next. Bindi the Jungle Girl. Bindi!
Did you know the Mojave Desert is one of the landing strips for the space shuttle? Edward Air Force Base uses the Salt Lakes as its jet base. The base and a lake with no water is one of the last stops on our road trip to Los Angeles. We're here at Edwards Air Force Base.
This amazing lake bed is called Rogers Dry Lake. It's 67 square miles, rock hard like concrete. It's the perfect place to land the space shuttle.
When the shuttle takes off, it goes straight up like a rocket. Well, it is a rocket. But when it comes down, it takes a long, long landing strip to get it safely on the ground. And there's plenty of space here at Edwards, and there's the dry lake as a backup.
So, Bindi, do you know what this plane is for?
Well, this plane is used for carrying the space shuttles.
Absolutely right. It used to be a passenger jet that took people from New York to Paris, but it was renovated to be used to carry the space shuttle.
This fantastic museum shows the whole history of Air Force aviation. Hundreds of aircraft were tested right here.
In the 1940s, it became very important for aircraft to improve markedly. One way that it could improve would be by breaking the speed of sound. One very brave and imaginative individual was about to do just that when Chuck Yeager, on October 14th, 1947, broke the sound barrier right here at Edwards Air Force Base. And he did it in this, the X-1.
The X-1 was carried up to 42,000 feet and dropped into the sky. This rocket plane then blasted straight through the sound barrier. Going faster than the speed of sound had never been done before. Some scientists thought the plane would actually explode. That makes Chuck Yeager a very brave pilot. Everyone was relieved and excited when he actually did it.
Now, this reproduction was made in 1997 to celebrate the 50th year, and it is one impressive recreation, exactly to the gnat's eyebrow, how it looked more than 50 years ago.
What an amazing trip we've had from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. We've driven across the western states, gone rafting on the mighty Colorado River, and found dangerous
You're gonna be in
reptiles.
for a world of trouble.
And no other snake in the world has a rattle. I found snakes that like to eat rattlesnakes, and we saw the amazing Sidewinder. Robert met spiders, and Mum discovered cow horns.
That's why they're called horns.
We saw some of the biggest animals in the American West and some of the most gorgeous reptiles, including Mojave Max.
Max actually has his own website.
Yeehaw! We discovered horse riding around the Grand Canyon and horsing around in some mini canyons.
Bindi! A star!
And we had some great fun in the aviation graveyard.
The desert may look like a very barren place, but when you scratch the surface, it really comes to life. It's gorgeous.
The wildlife in the deserts is worth 1,000,000 photographs, and I think I took every one.
Look, there's the sign to LA. Our road journey's come to an end, but we'll see you next time for more fun in the jungle. Bye!
Bye!
Bindi the Jungle Girl.
It's the strangest sight in the middle of the Mojave Desert to see the Kelso train station. This train station was first built here in 1924, and the reason why is there's a springs just near here, so the steam trains could take on water here. Also, out of this station is a 2% grade that goes for 17 miles towards Las Vegas. And do you know what the train would say when it went up the grade, Bindi?
No.
It would say, I think I can.
I think I can, I think I can.
So they'd also have helper engines here to get the train up that grade. After 17 miles, the helper engine would come back to the station. It was going to be torn down in the 1980s, but as of October 2005, it's now been completely restored to its former glory from 1924.
Then I found a kid-friendly snake.
Now this is a baby king snake. Isn't he or she gorgeous?
Yeah, you're a Butte Bonza Ripper of a snake. Her mother would have laid about 6 or 8 eggs about 1 month ago. And sometimes she doesn't kill and eat it, she just eats it live. Isn't that amazing? And we're talking a rattlesnake. And these guys, whoa! And these guys aren't venomous. Isn't that amazing? This little girl is so gorgeous.